Welcome to Voices from the Front Lines of CMMC Compliance, where we explore key steps in the CMMC journey straight from the professionals guiding U.S. defense contractors through it every day. In this video, we're going to dive into how to get your compliance journey started off right, from identifying where CUI lives to understanding your compliance level and building a realistic plan. So let's get started. We're talking to Laura Spencer, who is on our advisory services team here at Systems Engineering. Welcome, Laura.
Thank you.
Laura, what are some of the top things every company should do before starting a gap analysis?
Well, I think there's a lot of temptation to dive right into a gap analysis. It's a good question because, we're all keen to know, well, what are the things I need to fix? And I want to fix them right away. But what we always want to see first is some careful measures taken around scoping. And everybody says scoping, again and again, but really have the right resources involved and really prepare and document your findings through a process as thorough as you can. So understand CUI flow in your environment, document that, understand what assets are involved, and begin to paint a picture of the boundary of your environment, because only then you can move on and do the gap assessment. Why assess and go through the trouble if you don't even know what your scope is? Yeah.
So why is scoping so critical, and what's the impact of getting it wrong?
Well, I think I had touched upon what's so critical in the previous question, but getting it wrong, it's certainly, most commonly we do hear about what could happen come assessment time, and you're going to miss controls, you might get something wrong, the assessor finds something that you didn't consider, an asset that's in scope. But in my opinion, what we see in scoping and some of the outcomes are, early on, you're going to understand what business processes are involved, right? So we're not talking about just a little control like, the password complexity wasn't enough, or so some little, printer that becomes now part of scope. It could be an entire business process or unit or something really catastrophic that down the line, when it's too late, you don't want to find that out, especially if it's close to assessment time. So understanding all of that from the business process and business unit needs early on is the key with scoping.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So can you walk us through how systems engineering helps clients define their environment then?
Yeah. It's actually a nice point in the engagement, because you're very much working as a guide and as a facilitator. That's what we do on our team. And really the client has these answers. They know their business and they know themselves, and we're working closely with them to uncover this data and understand these answers and document them and present them in a way where they can come up with strategies and draw conclusions. We help them with that. But going through scoping and as I said, sort of translating with them and showing them and documenting those boundaries, the data flows, and the different assets in their environment. That's a key part of our work, but it's very rewarding to be that guide and be that facilitator.
How should contractors decide between an enclave versus an enterprise-wide approach?
There's a lot of material out there about the pros and cons of each of one of those strategies. Enclave doesn't mean one particular solution or architecture. It's important to understand you're just simply trying to segment and separate physically and logically a piece of the organization. Enterprise-wide is obviously a huge deal. It's you're all in. It's everything, So it's good to understand from the scoping point of view, as I said, all of the business needs and all of those different areas and processes involved, because if you can get them out of scope, it's ideal to do so. But there's so many factors to consider. I think that's why having a facilitator and a guide is really helpful. It can have cost implications, but you could also be prohibiting things for future business development. A lot of organizations know this is something they really want to take on. It's an organization-wide effort. you can start to understand why there's more to it than just, oh, this looks like a good solution, sort of CMMC in a box, let's go with that. It's definitely careful planning, strategizing, and considering lots of points of view.
Sure.
Yep.
If you don't mind me asking, do organizations typically have a dedicated group of individuals for these tasks, or are people sort of just getting assigned to this based on their roles, or how is that normally working that you're seeing?
For me, it's the best when we have a task force involved. But it does involve the other thing that you said, which is it usually is pulling in people with their existing roles and saying, okay, you have these new roles and responsibilities that are being assigned to you. Maybe occasionally, a company is growing and they may hire someone specifically internally to be in a compliance role, or a new project manager, FSO. There's lots of people who may be brought in, but it is often to look at the organization, have a good range of individuals from different areas. Don't just consider it an IT problem.
Sure. So with that being said, what's the biggest mistake you're seeing companies make in their early CMMC planning right now?
I would say in early CMMC planning, the biggest mistake is, and I am repeating this, it is not having the right people involved.
Sure.
Because there's a clear process to follow. The taking on CMMC, as I mentioned, there's a lot of resources out there, and there's a lot of professionals as well to assist. But, I do see the mistake where organizations may get to a certain part of the process, almost believing that they're nearing, the end, or they're getting to a major milestone, and they've been going it alone, or they didn't consider something significant that could have been fixed by making sure you had all voices represented from the start.
Right.
And that's just so key, because it is program level. It's strategy, and there's implications. You could be losing serious investment, time, effort, and then the worst of all, which is more common than people realize. So do remember, if it is in the hands of one individual, what happens if they leave? And this does occur, where people may change jobs, or have a life event, and that's just catastrophic to the CMMC program. So
Right.
Have the right people involved from the start. Make sure you've thought about resourcing. I think that's the biggest mistake I see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How early or how soon should an organization engage your team in this journey?
It depends, and that's such a consulting answer to give you. It really depends, because we do not force a client to have a certain level of involvement from advisory. Everyone is different. We do see organizations with a strong internal team that would like some facilitation and guidance, maybe on a monthly basis. And then we work with other organizations that really want us to be their internal team with them. And we meet frequently, and we work on all aspects of the program together. So it just very much depends on what the program looks like, what are the client's needs.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts before we sort of finish off for this one?
I think it was great to talk about this with you, Mike, and in an open, environment. And I just thank you for, bringing me here today. So
That's great.
It was
Thank
a pleasure.
you. The more information we get out there, the better it is for organizations and for everyone in general. So great.
Yeah.
Laura, thank you so much.
Thank you.